Hello, I'm Sam from Cultaholic.com, and this is Graded for NXT and 205 Live, where I take a look at each show, segment by segment, and award each little bit a grade from A+ to F. So, yeah, last week was alright, but this week's going to be a little bit better, isn't it? It better be a little bit better. Hit the intro. So we start with 205 Live, as we always do. Purple tie, purple tie, purple tie. And it's a bit of a weird cold open because usually you have Drake Maverick going like, well, this happened and that happened and ooh, fights tonight. Instead, it's Drew Gulak who says that it's a bit of a strange time in the Cruiserweight division, and then he runs down tonight's card, and then we go straight to the ring for the first match of the night. And that match is Drew Gulak versus his former apprentice, I guess, or student, Humberto Carrillo. During Drew Gulak's entrance, Jack Gallagher comes on the screen and he questions what Drew Gulak ever did for him. He says that, you know, you never ever respected me as a friend, but you're going to be forced to respect me as an adversary. Once both men are in the ring, Gulak attempts to immediately tie up Carrillo, but Carrillo, much to Gulak's shock, has learned a thing or two while being sort of like taught by him, I guess. What was their relationship? It was really weird. But he showcases that he's got a lot better in the mat department, and Gulak's a bit like, oh god, what have I done? Carrillo then stays on the offensive. He hits some flippy stuff, hits some reversals, does a couple of those big springboard arm drags, and then he even hits a dive to the outside. And then there's a great moment where Gulak's sort of on his arse on the floor outside of the ring. Carrillo climbs the ring post and he's stood on top and he's looking at him like he's gonna dive, and the crowd are going like, ooh, and Gulak is like, get down from there, get down, don't do it. And Carrillo's like, I don't have to listen to you anymore. Carrillo is able to keep Gulak on the back foot until he attempts a springboard and gets wiped out. Gulak then ground and pounds him, he does some joint manipulation, and then he starts working over the legs, because if he can't stand, he can't fly. Carrillo gets close to a 3 with a huge missile dropkick, but he can't quite get it. Both men then go back and forth, and then there's this great little moment where Carrillo comes off the ropes and Gulak catches him into an ankle lock. While he's got the ankle lock on, Carrillo even manages to hit him with a roll-up, and Drew doesn't even break the hold. He kicks out and just rolls straight through, applying more and more torsion. Eventually, Gulak leaves the floor, which is anti-everything that he preaches. He gets up to the second rope, and Carrillo manages to dive over him, hits a sunset flip powerbomb, then gets back in the corner, hits the Aztec press, and picks up the 3. Humberto Carrillo has defeated Drew Gulak. I'm going to give this one a B+. Solid in-ring work from both guys here. They managed to tell a story quite well with the evolving styles. And I also like that the storyline between Gulak, Gallagher, and Carrillo is going to continue in some small way. We then go backstage and it's Oney Lorcan, and he says that he's been preparing his whole life to come to WWE and win a championship, and now the only man that stands in his way is Ariya Daivari, and that's a bit of a weird one because Daivari isn't your usual cruiserweight. He doesn't care about flippy techniques, he doesn't care about mat game, he just cares about getting in that ring and hitting his opponents so hard that he's the only man left standing. But Oney Lorcan says, luckily for him, that's the type of match he likes. We then cut to Daivari, who brags about being undefeated in 2019, saying that it only happened because he cut all that dead weight loose from round his waist, and he says that he will be the next Cruiserweight champion. We then keep it backstage, and Drake Maverick is talking to Mike and Maria Kanellis, and he's sort of chewing them out a little bit. He's not happy that Maria keeps on getting involved in matches. Kendrick then shows up, and he's a little bit ticked off, and Maria refers to Tozawa as Kendrick's meal ticket, and Kendrick's like, you know what, I just wanted to turn up and talk, but I'm gonna go now, it's alright, I was just a distraction anyway. And they're like, what? And then Tozawa just dives in and starts going mental, just going full ham on Mike, and Drake Maverick's in the middle just going, unacceptable, 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 this is unacceptable, just over and over again. And then we go back to the ring for tonight's main event, which is Oney Lorcan versus Ariya Daivari for the #1 contendership, I guess, of the Cruiserweight Championship. Both men are about to square up, and they're cut off by Tony Nese, who's coming down to ringside. He's not going to sit at commentary, but he's going to sit sort of next to commentary and just get a close-up view of the match. Both men lock up, and Lorcan seems to be a little bit on edge around Daivari. He even goes for a very early half-and-half attempt to try and just put an end to it. Eventually, Lorcan takes him to the mat, slows the pace of the match right down, and just keeps grinding him, but after this moment, the match seems to just open right up. Lorcan hits 3 atomic drops, and on the third one, Daivari sort of just gets up and runs himself over the top rope, which was a little bit awkward. But then when Lorcan goes for a dive to the outside, Daivari connects with a high knee and wipes him out. Back in the ring, Daivari goes full on with the aggression, the stomps, the strikes. Lorcan takes a lot of abuse, but he does manage to get himself back to his feet and he starts giving it as good as he's getting it. Eventually, Daivari drives Lorcan into the announce table and then he takes him to the crowd barrier, and there's this nice little innovative spot where he's sort of applying pressure to the back of the neck to drive the throat into the corner of the crowd barrier while simultaneously like raking the nose. It was just look nasty. Back in the ring, Daivari catches Lorcan in the $1 Million Dream and he starts to fade, but he just gets to the ropes in time. Lorcan then kicks Daivari to the outside, he hits a plancha. Back in the ring, attempts a half and half, doesn't get it, attempts another one, doesn't get it. But on that second attempt, Daivari locks in another $1 Million Dream and Lorcan just completely goes. He's just out, looks like he's unconscious. The referee has to do the arm drop test. Lorcan manages to catch his hand just short, and then he hulks his way back to his feet. Lorcan then makes a half and half attempt off the top rope, but Daivari sends him flying, and then Daivari goes for his splash, but Lorcan rolls out the way, and there's a little bit of back and forth, but eventually Daivari manages to seal the deal. So yeah, Daivari does manage to finally hit the Persian splash, and then he grabs him just for good measure, hits him with a hammerlock lariat, and picks up the 3. I'm going to give this one an A-. I really liked this match. I think both guys had incredible chemistry. They both looked strong. Even Lorcan in defeat looked strong. Daivari seems like a contemptible, horrible little man. After the match, he got in Tony Nese's face, which was quite nice as well. Daivari just needs something that's going to push him into that top spot of biggest heel on 205 Live, and I think that could be taking the belt from Nese, but I don't really want Tony Nese to lose the belt this quickly. I really like him, so we're just gonna have to see what happens. And as much as I'd like to see Lorcan with that belt, he's just arrived on the scene, and the longer he is without the belt, the hungrier he's gonna get in kayfabe. I think it's not gonna damage him at all. Overall, gonna give this week's episode of 205 Live a B+. We got 2 great matches. We had that really nice backstage promo with Tozawa jumping Mike. It was just nice. I think we're on to an absolute winner with the Gulak Humberto Gallagher storyline, and I can't wait, as I just said, for Daivari to step into the big boy shoes of top heel. But that was 205 Live. Now it's time to move on to NXT. So NXT kicks off this week with Jaxson Ryker versus our boy, so handsome, so dimply, please don't die, pulling double duty, Humberto Carrillo. Ryker immediately lays the power in. He knows that Humberto is an aerial threat. He's making a name for himself in 205 Live as something of a big aerial threat. Carrillo gets slammed about a little bit and he quickly realizes the best way to deal with Ryker is probably to tire him out. So he does some running around the ring. He sort of avoids all of his attacks. He goes to the outside. All this seems to do is piss Ryker off. Like, he's not getting tired. He's not breaking. He's just angry. He launches Carrillo into the corner, locks him in a tree of woe, beats him merciless for a bit, and then goes and hits the Widowmaker. But before he can pin him, Humberto rolls out of the ring, and then Ryker, really annoyed, gets out of the ring almost faster than Humberto does, launches him over the crowd barrier, takes him to the bleachers, starts just attacking him. Referee puts a stop to the match. And just as everything seems like it's lost, out come Burch and Lorcan from the side, from the crowd, with 2 chairs. They drive the Suns back, and there's this sort of really nice, really intense stare down while they're tending to Humberto. I'm going to give this one a B+. It wasn't a squash, it wasn't really a match, it was more of a showcase segment. It established Ryker again as somebody that can take on anyone, a beast, like a truly terrifying character. And it was really nice to see Burch and Lorcan make the save as well, because it means we're probably going to end up having a 3-on-3, and that feud's going to continue a little bit longer, and it puts more light on the Suns, which is what we need right now in NXT. We then go backstage and Adam Cole is having his photographs taken, then he gets interrupted by the interviewer. He says he's really disappointed with Gargano being such a coward and refusing to face him, but the thing that Gargano doesn't understand is that Roddy's going to do exactly what Adam Cole would do, and that's just to beat the absolute life out of him. And then there's laughter off screen, and Adam Cole gets angry and he's like, what do you want? What are you doing here? And it pans over to Matt Riddle and he's like, I'm next in line for photos, bro. And then Riddle says something that really gets under Cole's skin. He says, I've never seen somebody so jealous at somebody else. Like, you are so jealous of Roddy for getting this title shot against Johnny. You can't even understand how jealous you look. The pair then sort of square up and Riddle's like, come on then, if you want to go, let's go. And Cole's like, I've just got like other stuff to do, like left the toaster on and stuff, and he just like walks off. We then go back to the ring for Vanessa, Borne and Aliyah versus Candice LeRae and her special mystery guest tag partner, which turns out to be Kacy Catanzaro. Kacy and Aliyah start things off. Kacy quickly takes advantage until Aliyah grabs a handful of her hair and drives her face first into the mat. Borne comes in and they hit a double suplex on her. Borne then stomps a mud hole in her, she chokes her on the ropes and tags back in Aliyah. Aliyah then locks her up, Borne comes back in and they go for another suplex, but Kacy lands on her feet when they throw her over the top. She gets the hot tag to Candice, Candice comes in and cleans house. Doesn't take very long after this, Candice gets in, she hits a springboard moonsault on Borne and picks up the win. I'm unfortunately going to have to give this one a C-. It was a bit of a quick match and it didn't feel like there was that much chemistry between the teams. I get that Candice has sort of thrown together her teammate, like she's had to sort of find somebody desperately to work with or against them, but Aliyah and Borne just worked like a unit, and yeah, it just seemed a little bit odd, and there didn't seem to be like a spark between both teams when they were working together. It was bit strange. We then go backstage and Io Shirai's being interviewed. She says what Shayna did last week was terrible, and then she starts saying a second sentence and then she's jumped by the horsewomen, who then hold her up, and Shayna comes running in with a massive knee, lays her out. That's it. That's the segment. We keep it backstage and we are in William Regal's office and he's gushing about Kushida to the camera. He's like, you know, it's been like pretty big deal, like having to get all this together and get him over here. It's taking a lot of time and effort. And then he's interrupted by Kassius Ohno. Ohno congratulates him on the signing of Kushida, and then he's like, you know who you're going to have him face? You probably need somebody who knows that sort of Japanese hard-hitting, you know, flying style. And he sort of suggests that he should be the one to face Kushida. Regal takes such a liking to this idea that he approves it, so next week Kushida's debut match is against Kassius Ohno. We then go back to the ring for Street Profits versus War Raiders Viking Experience Raiders for the NXT Tag Team Championships. So Raiders come out second, as all champions should, and as they're coming down the ramp, Montez Ford just dives straight over the cameraman, over the top rope, and wipes the pair out. It gets off to a very hot, very aggressive start. They almost pick up a really early win over Rowe, but Rowe kicks out. They then take him up to do that electric chair blockbuster thing, and he escapes. And that means Hanson gets in the ring to even the score. War Raiders then get on it with their tandem offense, and eventually it boils down to Hanson and Ford. Ford can't put Hanson down, but he eventually manages to pick him up and sort of suplex him. War Raiders seem genuinely shook by the aggression of the Street Profits. They were definitely not expecting this level of a fight. Hanson, however, manages to get free. He hits his handspring double back elbow, and then War Raiders get together and start just double teaming again. They hit their finish and they pick up the 3. I'm going to give this one a B+. I'm really loving this new side to the Street Profits. We've seen glimmers of it in the past when they've been told, like, you know, it's not really your opportunity, it's not really this time, but yeah, like now it just seems to be that they are full on hellbent on getting those belts, and I really like it. They just look like a completely different team, and I don't know who I want the Raiders to drop the belts to, but I really wouldn't mind seeing this match again. We then go backstage and Mia Yim is being interviewed, and she's like, you know, Shayna is, I guess, unstoppable. She's beaten everybody and everybody's had a crack at her, but I feel like I've learned some stuff since we last went in the ring together, and she wants another opportunity to take out Shayna. And then we go to the ring for tonight's main event, which is Johnny Gargano versus Roderick Strong for the NXT Championship. Roddy immediately grounds Johnny and won't let go, and then both men show off their incredible range of mat skills. Gargano dumps Roddy to the outside, nails him with a kick, but Roddy gets quickly back on it, half Nelsons him into the apron. This match is gonna be brutal. Back in the ring, Roddy has Gargano on lock. Whenever he manages to get free, he immediately grounds him, takes him back to the mat. There's this great little spot where he sort of ties Johnny's arms in over the rope. They get sort of caught, and he drags his feet back in a figure 4 style position and just like puts them underneath, like catches them onto the second rope, so that when it comes to the count of 5, Roddy can step away and Gargano's feet will stay there, applying the torsion. It was just really nice, really inventive. And then Gargano eats a hell of a lot of punishment, but eventually manages to fight back, gets Roddy on the outside and drives him into the ring steps. Johnny lines up for Meet Me in the middle, only for Roddy to grab him and hurl him back into the turnbuckle. Each man has the other fully scouted. It feels like a real, genuine fight. And then Gargano finally manages to lock in the Gargano escape, and Roddy is selling this like somebody's just trying to chainsaw his legs off. He's screaming, he's in agony, he's reaching around for the ropes, but instead of, you know, finding the ropes, out comes Adam Cole. Gargano obviously gets distracted, turns his back on Roddy, who tries everything he possibly can to put him away. But when it's not working, out come the rest of the Era. But just behind them, sprinting down the ramp, is Matt Riddle. It just all kicks off. Amidst all the confusion, Johnny hits a slingshot DDT and picks up the win, and he and Matt Riddle celebrate while the Era get in the ring and Cole is just berating Roddy. The Era seem to be a little bit standoffish, a little bit argumentative, but Roddy, he's just worked like a really hard match. Like, it sucks that he's lost. Like, he could have, realistically, if he could have got out that Gargano escape, he could have won the match, and he's just like, no, I'm not dealing with this, and he just goes to the back, and then they slowly, confused I guess, or annoyed, follow him out. I'm going to give this one an A. How could I not? It's just been so nice to see Roddy back in singles competition when he's been so underutilized in that sort of field when joining the Era. So yeah, you just forget how good he is, don't you? Putting him in there with Gargano, and especially having him run circles around Gargano in the opening phases of the match, was a thing of beauty. And plus the storyline aspect of it, what's going to happen with the Era, what's going to happen with Johnny, what the hell is going on with the title picture, that just made it all the more juicy. In terms of an overall grade for NXT this week, I'm gonna give it a B. It was an incredible main event, maybe let down just a smidge by some of the lesser matches on the card. But all in all, the wheels are still on the truck, they're all moving in the same direction, everything's heating up, we're in for some really intense storytelling over the next 3 months, and I can't wait to see where the hell we're going. And that is graded. Let us know what you thought about NXT and 205 Live this week in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments below. You can follow Cultaholic on Twitter @Cultaholic. You can check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you like what we do here at Cultaholic, you can check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/Cultaholic. And no matter what you do, don't ever forget to hit subscribe and join us.